Who would have thought that Embiid would be the one that's healthy enough to play and not the other two big men? How do they all fit together? Tom Moore, PhillyBurbs.com, Calkins Media. He joins me now. A very intriguing training camp preseason, Tom. This is not the way Brett Brown wrote it up, right?
No, it's funny you say that. That's what I asked Brett Brown the other day. I guess it was Monday's practice, or maybe it was Saturday. I said, who would have thought that going into the season of the three young big guys, Embiid's probably going to be your healthiest guy? And he just kind of, started laughing and, and smiling. But it's true. Noel's not going to be ready to start with a strained groin, and Okafor, who knows? He scrimmaged Monday, and then they held him out yesterday. So who knows exactly where he is. If he is, he's going to be on minutes restrictions, probably less than Embiid's 20 to 24 they're talking about for the opener. So, I mean, there's a lot of big men, at least to start the season. Rashawn Mahomes is probably going to play some, which people, would not have projected back in July.
Tom, you mentioned Noel. What's the deal with him? I mean, out of nowhere, he kind of got hurt, which kind of got swept under the rug almost. Like, oh, Noel's not going to play. Now he might not even start the season. If they don't get him locked up by the 31st, I mean, is there, some behind-the-scenes stuff going on here with him? Because he seems like he is detached from this team.
Well, he's not happy, clearly, with the situation. But, I mean, if he were healthy, he would be playing a decent amount with Embiid's minutes restrictions and, Okafor out. He would be playing. Supposedly, he strained his groin. It bothered him 2 weeks ago tomorrow at the shoot-around and told the Sixers, and he has been – we saw him once working out kind of half speed. And other than that, he's been doing things individually or that we haven't seen him. He clearly wasn't happy with the situation, on media day and the day before. But I can kind of understand. He'll be a free agent, whether it's restricted or unrestricted, after this season. And if he only plays 15 or 18 minutes a game, his numbers are going to be down. And the NBA bases, a lot of the salaries and so on production. So he's not going to play nearly as much as he did his first two seasons that he was healthy, and probably won't put up the same kind of numbers. So, I understand it. I'm told that he really is hurt, that it's not, something that just came out of nowhere, even though he told the team that was the case. But apparently he's doing a lot of work with the strength coach and, individual stuff, but it sounds like he's a ways away.
Tom Moore's with us. Sixers open the season a week from tonight. Okafor, you mentioned he 5-on-5 Monday. They kind of held him out yesterday. What is the prognosis for him, number one? And number two, are they going to play those two guys, him and Embiid? Are they going to play together?
Well, I think, Mike, I don't think that was necessarily the plan, but I think Simmons' injury, Sarge, will play 25 minutes a game, let's say, at the 4, but that still leaves you about half the game at that position. You can, use Covington as a stretch 4. You could try Jeremy Grant a little bit there, but against teams that use two traditional bigs or don't have an undersized stretch 4, I could see them doing that. And I think Brett Brown had hoped to take a look at it in the preseason, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. But I think he will try it, and honestly, under the circumstances, I don't understand why you wouldn't. I think offensively it could work, because both guys have decent range, and one can pull away from the basket and the other can be inside or vice versa. My concern is at the defensive end. I think Embiid's athletic enough to chase power forwards, but with that foot, I don't know that you want to do it. And Okafor with the knee, he had what the Sixers called minor arthroscopic surgery 7 months ago that was supposed to take 6 to 8 weeks to recover, and here it is 7 months later, and he's still not 100%.
Yeah, weird.
So I'm not sure if that means it was more serious, if he had multiple setbacks. We know he told us he had a setback September 30th, the last day of camp, when he was going against Embiid, which we found out on Monday, and that was also the day that Simmons suffered his fractured foot in the final scrimmage. So we're not sure, but clearly he is not nearly as far along as the Sixers had hoped, and he expected to be.
Tom Moore's with us, PhillyBurbs.com, Calkins Media, 76ers. Between the two, Okafor and Noel, their name comes up in the trade talks all the time. Where we are now, has anything changed in terms of who they value more, who they'd rather keep, get rid of them both? Anything change with those two in the eyes of the organization as we are a week now from the opener?
Yeah, I mean, the perception would seem to be kind of just looking like Four's more in good graces than Noel, but that may be just more a byproduct of their attitudes and their what Okafor's willing to accept, and Noel, this being, going through all the losing he went through in 3 years. He didn't play his first year because of the torn ACL that he suffered at Kentucky. But, all the losing and so on, I think it kind of maybe beats you down after a while. Contract-wise, they have him under control for this year and 2 more, Okafor, whereas Noel, if they don't qualify him, he'll be unrestricted, next summer already. So, defensively, to me, it seems like Noel's a better fit with Embiid, but offensively, it seems like Okafor is. So I don't know how you quantify that or what you do. Brett Brown seems to base a lot of things on defense. I mean, he likes the way Sergio Rodriguez runs the team, but he keeps talking about his difficulties on defense, and that's why one of the reasons I think that T.J. McConnell will be the starting point guard in the opener a week from tonight, because while he's not a great defender, he's I would say a competent defender. I mean, he's going to have a heck of a time with Westbrook. That's a whole other can of worms, but he's better and he defends 94 feet. Rodriguez is more of a pick and roll offensive guy and drive and get feed a teammate for a good shot. So I think Brown seems to value defense, so it's kind of curious to see how that plays out because they are so different.
What does that mean for Bayless? No shot to start Wednesday night or be ready to play Wednesday night?
It doesn't sound like it. He told us two weeks ago tomorrow, he told us that he had an MRI and it wasn't good news, and it looked like he wouldn't be he might not be ready for the start of the regular season, and he has not scrimmaged or even shot around or anything that we've seen, and we've had no updates from the team about what's going on. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's more than a sore wrist. What it is and how long he'll be out, I don't know, but it seems like a long shot, and I think that's a fairly significant loss because he's one of the better shooters in addition to what he would be a starting point guard and, runs the team, and he also can play off the ball. He and Simmons would have seemed to have been a pretty good duo because Simmons could bring the ball up and he could run off the ball and, shoot jumpers and so on, and he can handle it if they need him to. So I think that's kind of add that to the list. But I mean, the expectations of July seem to be very different of the expectations of mid-late October, given all the injuries and the circumstances.
Yeah, top 5 in the NBA 3-point last year percentage for Jerry Bayless out with a wrist. We know Simmons with the foot. Has Joel Embiid exceeded your expectations in terms of how far along he is and how quickly? I mean, I'm not saying he's a finished product or the rust is all off, but how quickly he seems like he's already competent?
I think you see, even from the first scrimmage we saw down in Stockton when he was just so rusty, you saw elements and snippets, and it seems like the more he plays, the more you see. He has a rare skill set for a guy 7'2", 275 pounds, to have the footwork and the ability to dribble and to be able to shoot, play inside and, come out and shoot 18-footers and even three-pointers occasionally. I think, he's still adjusting to the speed of the game, as is Saric. And I think he also is looking for himself first. I mean, 0 assists and 16 turnovers in the preseason. I think he really wants to show people what he can do. I don't think he's necessarily a selfish player, but I think he's more about doing his thing first now. And I assume that once he settles in, he will, work better out of double teams and get his teammates involved and swing the ball and things like that. But yeah, he's the reason, let's face it, that anybody wants to watch his team at this point with Simmons out and so on. Saric a little bit, but he's the whole reason that people, care about the Sixers right now.
No doubt. And any new news, any updates on Simmons?
No, just that he's wearing a boot, and he supposedly has been at the team's practice facility, but we have not seen him. He was in New York on Monday, and he had the surgery there, so we're not sure if that means he went to get an update, but we have had no updates from the original surgery. There was no time frame in terms of how long he's going to be out, but I would be surprised if he plays before January. They have 33 games between now and the end of the calendar year, so that's almost a half of the season. So I think if he's healthy, I think he would play unless they deem greater risk that he comes back before he's ready, like Kevin Durant did a few years ago. I mean, they're not going to be probably, let's face it, fighting for a playoff spot. So if there's any chance that he could do damage, I don't see the reason, although it would be nice for him to play a month or two to get a feel for how he's going to play. And with having potentially 2 top 5 picks next year, do they really want or need a pass-first point guard who has the ball in his hands with Simmons, or would they be better off with a younger version of Bayless who, can play off the ball and bring it up if they need him? Because to me, Simmons seems to be best with the ball in his hands, and he seems like he's not as comfortable when he's not handling the ball. So that would be nice to get a sense of that, even if it's only for a month or two this season.
Tom Moore, everybody. Don't forget, the Sixers open the season Wednesday night against Oklahoma City. That's an 8 o'clock national televised game. It's right here on 97.3 ESPN, your home for the 76ers. Thank you, Tom.
Sure, anytime, Mike.